What about addenda? When do you recommend someone writes an addendum? When do you recommend they not write an addendum? And I'm thinking in particular of low GPA or low LSAT score, or maybe someone might feel compelled simply because they don't have work experience.
Right. So I don't think the lack of work experience is a compelling reason to write an addendum, but certainly a GPA or an LSAT addendum, there are gray areas. There's not, it's not cut and dry when you should write one and when you shouldn't. So let's start with the GPA. So if the GPA, if you have it depends on what your reason is. Let's start there. So with the GPA, it really depends on what your reason is and what you want to tell the admissions committee. My general rule of thumb with addenda is to keep them very brief. So we don't want to have an essay explaining every detail of why your GPA is what it is. Let's say, for example, you were a biology major when you started and you were planning to go to med school, and you took organic chemistry and got a C, and then you decided that, which is probably pretty average for organic chemistry, but then you decided that, you know what, maybe I don't think the sciences are my thing, and you switched to another major that is more fitting for your interests. So, you go on, your freshman GPA is not great, but the rest of the 3 years are pretty good. All you need is like 3 sentences saying that you had a really, you had a heart-to-heart with yourself at the end of your freshman year and decided to change majors. You embraced your English major or your poli-sci major or history or whatever it is. And then you decided that, it was much better suited for your interests and future goals. That's it. You really don't need more than that. The law school admissions officers will see your transcript, but they'll also get something from LSAC that's really, really helpful to them when they're looking at grade trends. So you're going to see not only your overall GPA, but they'll get a breakdown of year to year. And so they'll be able to very, very easily see your grade trends. And so if there's an upward trend, they'll be able to see it. They could always flip to the page that has the transcript, and they'll be able to see that you took biology and organic chemistry, and then you took a bunch of other courses after that. So that will be almost obvious to them, but it's still helpful for you to write a very brief addendum to point that out. If it depends on what your reason is. So if there are other reasons, if there are more personal reasons that you had a tough semester, you had some personal crisis happen, you can explain a little bit of that, but the addendum is not meant to be another essay. Of course, if there's relevant information that you think is helpful to the admissions committee to make a decision, then you should include it. But keep in mind that you're talking to, some strangers who are really looking at your application and whether or not you're a good fit for their school. So you want to take a step back, and it's difficult sometimes for applicants to take a step back from their application and look at it and say, if I weren't me, if I didn't know me, would I have questions about this? Would I have questions about my GPA? Would I have questions about my LSAT score? And if the answer is yes, then you would want to submit an addendum. And so for the LSAT score, some schools actually require an explanation if you've taken it more than once. So it's important to know what each school's individual requirements are. But you could write a very brief addendum if the marching band was playing outside during your first take, or that you were really sick and you should have canceled. Those things, again, a few sentences are fine. You do not need to go into the strategy that you used for each individual LSAT. The schools don't care about that. They really don't care if you use this way of studying or you did this way of studying, or even sometimes what your practice tests were. You don't need to go into very specific details about what you were scoring on your practice tests. It's pretty typical for people to score a few points below their practice tests during their actual test. So that's kind of a given. But if you have to retake, a very simple I got a 123 on my, not a 123, but like XYZ on my first take. I knew that I had performed better on my practice test. I knew I could do better. So I retook it in February and received this score. I believe that this is a more accurate representation of my capabilities or something like that. Period. That's it. That's all you need to know. Addendums for other things, I think, are dictated mostly by what the school requires. So if you had a leave of absence, or if you took some time off, or if you had some character and fitness issues, those are usually dictated by the questions that are asked on the application. So definitely follow the rules.
Thanks for tuning into the show. Please subscribe if you haven't done so already to be notified of new episodes as I release them. And feel free to reach out if you need anything at all as you move forward with your prep. I'm happy to help however I can. In the meantime, I wish you all the best and take care.